Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Charlie, I am 30 years old and I make YouTube videos about bulimia recovery. Now, I suffered from bulimia myself for 7 years, and before that I suffered from anorexia, EDNOS, compulsive overeating, for about another 8 years in total. So that makes 15 years of my life I spent with an eating disorder. I'm now recovered and in a pretty healthy, happy, content space with my body and food. I definitely don't engage in bulimic habits anymore, and I'm really trying my best with this YouTube channel to talk as openly and candidly as I can about my experiences. If you do a YouTube search on my anorexia story or my recovery from anorexia, you will get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of results. There is a lot of material out there which is really helpful and beautiful and amazing, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but there is a lot of material out there on people's experiences with anorexia, but very little out there on people's experiences with bulimia. I have come across a few videos where people are talking about like my bulimia story, and they just very briefly touch upon the fact that they used to eat and then throw up for a few months in their life, and then they stopped and their life got a lot better, and they don't really go into much more detail than that. Whereas on my channel I really go into the nitty gritty and the ins and outs of what it was actually like to be bulimic. Things like locking myself in pub toilets and binging while I was sat on the toilet stool and then throwing up in it, and going out for little breaks halfway through to fill up my water bottles so I could rinse out my stomach and get all the food out. Things like throwing up in the street when there wasn't a public toilet available, supermarket toilets, just all the disgusting things that we're really ashamed of, that pretty much all bulimics do, at least all people who are severely bulimic like I was. But the things that we're afraid and ashamed to talk about, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's no wonder that people are ashamed to talk about these things. It's disgusting, it's embarrassing, it is considered very shameful. But for that reason, I think it's really, really important that someone does talk about it. And if that has to be me, if no one else wants to do it, then I'm willing to do so. I first started talking about my eating disorder and my experiences with bulimia about 6 months ago. And at that time, I definitely still held on to a lot of shame around the subject of my eating disorder. I would open up to certain select individuals, select friends, boyfriends who I trusted about the fact that I had been bulimic in the past, but I wouldn't go into huge amounts of detail. And then that really shifted when I met my last partner. He was just one of the most amazing men I've ever had the pleasure of being in a relationship with, in the fact that he saw me fully and completely for who I was, created a safe space for me to open up to him about everything that I'd been through, all the awful things that I'd done, all the disgusting things that bulimia had made me do, the amount of time that I'd spent wanting to end my life and hoping that I would die. And I was really able to be honest with him about everything. And for the first time ever, I was able to open up to another human being about everything that I had gone through with bulimia and how hard it had been, and all the bad things I had done, things like lying to my boyfriend, who I was with whilst I was bulimic, lying to my family, stealing from shops, puking in the street, all these disgusting things. And he just loved me anyway. He loved me even more for it. And that really gave me the fuel to spark, the fuel to light my fire, let's say, to start sharing this with the world. Is something that I have been I was thinking about doing for a long time before I actually started doing it, because I just felt in my heart that there was not enough out there in the eating disorder recovery space about bulimia, and I really felt that was probably holding I can't talk today, I'm sorry. I really felt like that was holding a lot of people back when it comes to recovering. I was very lucky to stumble across a couple of YouTube accounts when I was still struggling with bulimia, and found a couple of people who were being very open, very candid, very honest and straightforward about their struggles with bulimia. But both of these people have since deleted all of their videos. And I remember just how comforting I found those videos to be when I was still struggling with my bulimia. It was amazing to finally realize and understand that I wasn't the only one who did these things, because when you're bulimic, you hide it so much. It's like your biggest secret. It's the thing you're most ashamed of more than anything else. And you will hide it from everyone, and for that reason everyone who's got bulimia is hiding it, and so it does create this false illusion that you are the only one who is suffering in this way. And actually you really have no idea. Like, you could have several of your close friends in your circle of friends who are suffering from bulimia at the same time as you, but you wouldn't know, because people are so understandably secretive about it. And so yeah, that is where the idea for my YouTube channel came from. Wow, this has been like the longest intro I've ever done. I'll get to the point soon, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't plan these videos too much. I tend to have an idea in my mind of something I want to talk about, something I'm inspired to tell you guys about, and I sit down and I film it in one take. So yes, tangent central sometimes is what my channel turns into. But well, you know, I hope it's helpful. I'm pretty sure it is helpful to people. I get lots of nice comments from people all the time. Yeah, so I make videos about bulimia, in short. I have an Instagram where I talk a lot about eating disorder recovery. I also have a group on Facebook called Take Back the Reins, with a growing community of, it's all women at the moment, but I do know that men can struggle with this as well. But it's an online community of women where I post more frequent updates than on any of my other social channels, and we talk about things such as like the money aspect of bulimia, because that is a really big one. And I'm planning a video about my own experiences of bulimia and its impact on my finances. I've actually recorded this video a couple of times, but it's a really sensitive area for me still. It's an area in which I still hold a lot of shame and like self-hatred and guilt and like all of this shit wrapped up in that subject of bulimia and finances. So I'm gonna post that video someday soon. But we do talk about that kind of thing in my group quite openly, and just support each other and share. Because we're all in this journey together. Even though I'm recovered and I don't binge and purge anymore, I do sometimes get urges like come out of nowhere, and that's actually leading me on quite nicely to the topic of today's video. So today I would like to talk about how to deal with urges to binge and purge, because at the start of recovery you are just like bombarded with all of these urges to binge and purge all the time. We develop our addiction to binging and purging through the fact that we are using it as a means of coping with our emotions. Often it comes from anxiety. For me personally, I've gained quite a good understanding of where my eating disorder came from in all the years of reflection I've done upon my eating disorder and my experiences. And anorexia definitely was a result of wanting to be thin. I did modelling as a child. All I ever really remember hearing from people when I was growing up is that I was beautiful. Oh, look, isn't she pretty? Oh, she's so pretty, she's so beautiful. And so I was kind of like led into this belief that there was nothing else good about me, and that the only important thing in life was how you look. And so when I hit puberty and I put on a bit of weight, and I had kind of buck teeth and like glasses and got bullied at school, I decided that I needed to lose weight, and that was the most important thing in the whole world, because I had nothing else, no other facets to my being or to my personality that were important, only weight loss and being skinny and the skinniest and pretty and the prettiest, and that was all I wanted. My anorexia came from like this deep desire to be thin and beautiful, but my bulimia definitely came from a place of anxiety. I did not know how to cope with my emotions, and the only way that I learned to cope with my emotions was by binging and purging. No matter what emotion I was feeling, like even if I was happy, even if I was feeling a positive emotion, I would binge and purge because I just couldn't deal with like feeling that much. It sounds bizarre that if you're feeling happy, then you go and deal with that happiness by using an unhealthy coping mechanism, but like that's genuinely how it was for me. Whatever emotion I was feeling, I would like drown it out with binging and purging. And anyone who's watching this channel, I assume if you're watching this right now, you do have bulimia. So I think it's fair for me to say, if you're watching this right now, I'm sure you know the high you get, that numbing sensation that you get just like cascading over your brain cells whilst you are mid-binge. Like there is nothing else like it on the planet to just really block everything out, everything that you're feeling, and completely numb yourself. And yeah, so my bulimia was definitely a coping mechanism for dealing with my feelings. Mainly it was anxiety. I felt a lot of just like deep unhappiness and unrest, and this constant state of unsatisfaction, that's not a word, Charlie, dissatisfaction, and not liking myself, and self-hatred, and just a yearning to be better. So yeah, for me, bulimia, and I believe in a lot of people as well, because I've done a lot of research. I've spoken to many people who've suffered with bulimia. I've coached people. I've got friends who've had it, and yeah, it sounds like most of us developed it as a response to anxiety, which then became an addiction. So going back to the topic of the video, when you are first in your recovery from bulimia, you're going to experience a lot of urges, because you're going to be experiencing emotions, and you know, life is difficult. Life does not just we do not just sail through life on this like pink sunny cloud of fluff, with rainbows and unicorns and fairies shooting fairy dust out of their arse. Like, life can be difficult, we are constantly presented with challenges in our personal life, in our work life, in our family life. And sometimes things can get really hard. We have to deal with things like money. We have to deal with things breaking in our houses and needing to be fixed. We have to deal with problems at work. We have to deal with human problems. And life can be difficult. People die, relationships end, pets die. We hurt ourselves. Sometimes we get sick. Sometimes we get sick and we don't know why, and we just can't seem to get better. Like, all of these things are stressful, and this is why we develop such strong addictions to things like bulimia, is because they help us cope with life. So yeah, you are not, when you decide to recover from bulimia, just gonna manage to stop purging. Like, that isn't the way that it works. It's not how it worked for me. I don't think it's how it works for anyone, at least not anyone who's suffered really, really badly with it. So you are going to get urges to binge and purge after you've decided to enter recovery. You are going to slip up. You are going to slip up again. You are going to slip up again and again and again and again and again. But, and this is a big but, the length of time between each slip up is gradually, over the course of time, over the course of like a year, going to get longer and longer and longer. And I promise you, like, if you just keep trying to control your urges, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, because that's the main point of this video. If you just keep trying to control those urges and not respond to them in that addictive way, you are eventually going to wake up in the morning, or maybe it's going to be like on the middle of a Tuesday, you're tapping away at work in a cafe or at your desk, whatever. You're going to see the date and you're going to think, holy fuck, I haven't made myself sick in like 6 months. And then you're going to compare yourself to where you were a year ago, where you were vomiting and binging and purging like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 times a day like I was, and you are going to realize, like, fuck me, I have got so much better. And yeah, so like, this progress doesn't happen overnight. The progress does take time. It is a journey. You are going to fall down again and again and again, and every single time you're going to be really tempted to beat yourself up. I've been there so many times myself. But actually for me, the crucial thing about really stopping the odd like slip up, and by the odd slip up I mean just a one-off occasion of a binge and purge, from turning into a full-on relapse where you're doing it several times a day for many days in a row, is learning to forgive yourself. So that's really, really important. I've touched upon this in a previous video. I will link it up here. It's my video on what to do after a bulimia slip up. But yeah, the less you beat yourself up, and just the more that you accept it and accept yourself and accept your flaws and accept your coping mechanisms and your addictions and everything as just being part of this beautiful, unique, somewhat messy tapestry of you, the less likely it is to turn into a big relapse. Because yeah, if you slip up once, and you spend the rest of that next day in this place of self-hatred and anxiety and regret and guilt and just hating yourself and punishing yourself and restricting your food and over-exercising, that is really going to make you vulnerable to the exact same thing happening again. And then the next day is going to go the same way, and then the next day, and then the next day, and before you know it, you're back in a cycle that it's difficult to get out of. Okay, I've been here myself. Like, this happened to me 2 times. After I really started my recovery journey, I had not purged for like, I don't know, 6 months or 8 months or something, and then I had one slip up, and then I spent the whole of the next day hating myself so much for that slip up. I'm like looking at my face from like every angle and different cameras and different mirrors, and like checking out my glands because I was so paranoid about my glands. I just wanted to see evidence that I'd escaped the whole swollen gland thing. And yeah, I just became like self-obsessed the next day, and just so much self-hatred and guilt and beating myself up. Like, why the fuck did I do that? I'm so stupid. I hate myself. I'm worthless. I want to die, blah, blah, blah. And then because of all that negativity, like creating this just melting pot of horrible, negative, self-destructive, self-critical emotions, I did the same again that night. And then yeah, the next thing I know, like I'm binging and purging 3 or 4 times a day again. Granted, it wasn't 20 times like it was when I was at my worst, but it was still pretty bad, seeing as I'd gone like 6 months without doing it. So to reel it back on topic, what I really wanted to get into in the video today is how to fight urges, because they are going to come up. Sometimes we're not going to be able to fight them, and we're going to give into them, and we're going to end up binging and purging. In those instances, like, don't worry about it, don't beat yourself up. It's just one instance. As I say, this has become one of my like taglines: stand up, pick yourself up off the ground, dust yourself off, and keep on walking 1 foot in front of the other. You will get there. It's just one slip up. It does not matter. If you step back and view your life as a whole, like this is useful to me in many ways in my life, actually. If I'm going through something, I try and visualize my entire life. So I kind of imagine myself like removing myself from my body, kind of like floating up, and like reviewing my whole life from above, so I can see my entire life from birth to death, like 0 to 80, however long that's going to be. And then I visualize like the length of time that I'm affected by that one slip up, and it's so tiny, you know. In your whole life you have like this much time, and that slip up that you had is like this big. It's so tiny. It's really like almost irrelevant. They only become important when it's slip up after slip up after slip up after slip up, and next thing you know, you've slipped up like next thing you know, you've slipped up like every day for a whole year, and then it's like this much of your life. Still not very much, but it's more significant. So yeah, on the days when you slip up and you can't fight the urge, don't worry about it. Just pick yourself up, 1 foot in front of the other, and keep on going. You will get there in the end. It's a journey. No one is perfect. No one has a perfect recovery. If they're trying to say that they do, then they are lying. So what I want to talk about today is urges. So when you get the urge to binge and purge, our temptation, I feel, is to distract ourselves. You know, there's lots of literature out there and people saying, call a friend, do some macrame, do some painting. All these things are like nice ideas, But I'm sure you know, as a bulimic watching this video, that if you're having a really, really, really strong urge to binge and purge, the last fucking thing you're gonna want to do is go and pick up some painting and do something that requires thought, do something that requires brain power, energy, and motivation. When you are in that crazed state, and I use the word crazed because it literally makes me feel crazy when I'm feeling like this. I felt like it very recently, and I'll get to that in a minute. When you are in that crazed state of, oh my God, I just need my fix, it's very hard to motivate yourself to do anything, right? So this is just a simple suggestion of something that always works for me when I'm having the urge to binge and purge. And that is, I just do nothing. Like, I lie on my bed and I feel that urge. Like, I really feel into the sensations I'm feeling in my body, and I try and work out where exactly it's coming from and what's causing it, because it's in these situations when we are going through these urges that we are provided with our greatest insights, okay? Like, it's really, it's our prime opportunity to psychoanalyze ourselves and think, like, okay, what has happened in the last like hour, 2 hours, 3 hours today that has put me in this position and created this urge. So for example, yesterday, like last night, I was feeling a really, really strong desire to binge and purge. And I know that was because I was having a ton of health problems in the day. My digestion just like was awful. I had breakfast at about 11 o'clock in the morning. I just had some scrambled eggs, which I scrambled in some butter. And like I had a matcha latte, and my stomach was so distended. I was in pain, like I felt bloated, I felt gassy, I felt like I had a lot of water retention, a lot of edema. I struggle with a lot of swelling and water retention in general, which is not fun ever, but yesterday it felt particularly bad. And so I kind of got through the day like this, and then I went and had dinner. I'd spent like 7 hours sat in a cafe working with this like belly that just felt so pregnant. And I didn't understand why, and it was very frustrating. And then I went and had dinner, and after dinner, it just felt like 10 times worse. I was so bloated. I actually really wanted to go out and go to a party last night, but I didn't have any energy. I was tired, and there was no way that I was going to go and like start dancing when I literally looked like 8 months pregnant. Like, my ability to bloat is pretty impressive. Actually, my ex-boyfriend once said this to me. He was like, whoa, Charlie, your ability to like get really bloated and look pregnant is it's something. It's quite astounding. So yes, yesterday I was feeling very uncomfortable in my skin. My face was puffy. I could feel a lot of water retention like in my cheeks and like under my chin, and that's something I'm very, very conscious of, and always have been, and probably always will be. It just comes as it's part of the parcel of having had an eating disorder. You're hyper aware of your appearance. So yeah, not only was I in physical pain and physical discomfort, I literally felt like I'm using the word literally a lot, I hate that. I felt like my digestion had just stopped, and all the food that I had eaten that day was just like in a lump in my stomach and wasn't going anywhere. And I just felt depressed and shit and anxious and just like so frustrated at my body for not cooperating and being at war with me. Like, I've had a lot of digestive issues recently, and yeah, issues with my GI tract and gut problems in general. And yeah, yesterday I just felt really sad and upset and frustrated and just awful. But more so than sad, because I feel sad is very like I never really get urges to binge and purge. When I do, they're very rare, but I never really get them when I'm sad. I feel sadness is a very like slow kind of energy. Like it carries a lot of like stillness along with it, with being sad. It's anxiety that really kind of fuels me up and gets me like, I just need to do something right now to get rid of this feeling. And that's how I was feeling yesterday. Yeah, I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of anxiety. and I really wanted to binge and purge. Like, it was a strong desire to do it. I was like, holy fuck, this is not good, girl. Like, come on, we can do this. How are we going to get through this? What are we going to do? And obviously I had all of the ideas of like, just do some work or do some painting because I like to paint, or read a book. But all of those things require energy. They all require some form of motivation and concentration. And so actually what I ended up doing was driving home, lying on my bed for I think like 4 hours and just back to back watching recovery orientated videos on YouTube. Body positivity, people spreading messages, and positive inspiration about eating disorder recovery. I've really, like, even still, you know, I've been recovered from my eating disorder for 2 years now. Even still, I watch this kind of stuff all the time because it's just good to constantly keep your mind topped up with those positive messages. You know, there is so much on the internet right now these days about diet culture, about weight loss. So many Instagram accounts are like people flaunting these perfect, flawless bodies, and it's very, very easy to get sucked into this like vortex of perfection. You know, everyone's eating this perfect food and it's keto that and vegan this, and yeah, it's very easy to get sucked into, yeah, I think vortex is a good word, of like perfection in terms of physical appearance and diet, and needing to lose weight and needing to be lean and gains, and all of these things, and therefore to me it is very important, if I want to really be proactive about maintaining my own recovery, it's very important to keep myself topped up in terms of like recovery inspiration and media and videos and literature that I'm reading. Like, yeah, I think what was it this person said yesterday in a video? It was about the mini Maud method that I was watching, and yeah, I think one like premise of the mini Maud method, which is a method for anorexics to recover, or not just anorexics, but anyone with any kind of restrictive eating disorder. Anyway, one premise of the mini Maud method is that you are never recovered, you are always in remission. And that really spoke to me because I definitely see myself in this way. Some people out there who work in the eating disorder recovery sphere would, and actually have done, they would and they have argued with me on this point. I say that I don't think I will ever fully recover and be able to be completely normal and carefree around food and not have to worry and constantly keep myself in check and be monitoring my thoughts and my thought patterns and my beliefs. Yeah, some people say that that's not true, and it is possible to completely recover and live a completely normal life when it comes to food and thoughts around food and mindset. I don't believe that to be true for myself. Of course, I can only speak for myself from my own experience, but I've also spoken to an awful lot of people who had eating disorders, and they all say the same thing. It is a constant journey, and there is always going to be the danger of, if something happens in your life, that you would fall back into your old ways. So yes, what did I do in order to deal with my really strong binging and purging urges I was having yesterday? I lay on my bed and I just bombarded myself with messages about recovery, and body positivity and eating in abundance, and you know, all of these reasons to not engage in eating disordered behavior. Yeah, you know, I like to watch channels where people have fully recovered. One that I really like and will give a shout out to is Maxi Recovery. I'll put a link down to her channel down below. She talks really candidly and openly about everything that she's gained from her recovery from many years of anorexia, in terms of her social life, in terms of her relationships, just being able to go out of the house and do normal things and be a normal person and sit down and have a conversation with someone and actually be able to listen to what they're saying rather than just be thinking about food the whole time. In my case, when I was bulimic, I would just be thinking about how to escape the whole time so that I could go and puke. Yeah, so I really, when I'm having these urges, like, there's no point trying to do something that requires concentration or effort, because your urge to binge and purge is always going to be stronger than your willpower, your motivation, your determination to actually do and create something. Or maybe I'm wrong with this. If I'm wrong with this, and like when you're having an urge to binge and purge, you sit down and create a masterpiece, like awesome. Please let me know in the comments down below if that's you. But I think for most of us, like, it is exhausting to fight these kinds of urges. Like, it really takes a lot of mental strength and mental energy. Like, it's very, very tiring to be constantly battling these thoughts in your mind. And so yeah, like, I really I just wanted to make a video about this today, because it was a question that I've been asked a lot recently, and I've honestly struggled to answer it in the past, because, you know, urges in bulimia recovery are really difficult to fight, but of course everyone needs to do that. But yesterday I had some insight, and actually I can't remember, like, a lot of my early days of recovery, I think were so difficult and so unpleasant because of everything that I was going through at the time, all of the physical side effects, edema, water retention, bloating, physical pain, like feeling highly uncomfortable in my body. I think my brain has blocked out all of that. Like, it's kind of a blur. So I've really struggled to answer this question when people have asked me. But I had this insight yesterday from my own experience of having an urge, a really strong urge to binge and purge, and I dealt with it by just, like, really surrendering, lying down on my bed, feeling it, not running away from it, just fucking feeling it, letting myself go there, letting myself imagine driving to the shop, stocking up on all that stuff I was going to buy. Like, I really, you know, I didn't, like, forbid myself from doing it. I allowed my brain to go there and consider it a possibility, and for some reason I think that helped stop that from actually becoming a reality, because, you know, it's reverse psychology. Like, if we get an idea and we're like, no, don't do that, it just makes us want to do it more. So I really kind of, like, surrendered to the fact that, like, if I wanted to do it, I could go and do it, and at the same time I bombarded myself with messages of positivity about everything that being recovered from an eating disorder gives to you and brings to you, and everything that there is to gain from not doing these kinds of things. So I hope that's helpful, guys. I'm sorry, like, again, every time I sit down to film a video, I'm like, this is gonna be 5 minutes, and then I ramble on for like half an hour. But I know that my videos are helping people, so I'm not that sorry. If you would like to connect with me, please follow me on Instagram. You can reach out to me in the DMs there. You can join my Facebook group. I will put a link to that down below. And I also have a range of jumpsuits made from natural materials, made from bamboo and cotton. Yeah, this is like my little business baby that I've been working crazily on for the last few months or so, particularly in the last couple of weeks, after the post from Bali has finally opened up. Whilst I was recovering from bulimia, I basically spent like a year in baggy tracksuit bottoms and t-shirts trying to cover up my body as much as possible. And ever since then, actually all my life I've had an affinity for like quite baggy, elegant, like flowy clothing. And so I've designed a range of jumpsuits. They're made from natural materials, from bamboo and cotton. They are currently available in black and white and green and red. There is a high-backed variety available, and that's good for yoga, and also a low-backed variety. I really like the low back. I think it's something really sexy. So yeah, I'll put a link to my online shop below. If you are going through recovering from an eating disorder like bulimia or anorexia, as you all know, that comes along often, almost always, with some weight gain, some swelling, some water retention, edema. And it's nice to have some clothes that aren't tight. You're not going to wake up and put it on like, oh, my jumpsuit's really horrible and tight today, it's cutting into my waist, like I've gained weight. You get to escape from all of that because they are just loose and flowy, and you won't have that like constant signal from your tight-fitting clothes that you have gained weight. So yeah, I'll put a link to my jumpsuits down below, check them out. I do give I think it's a 15% discount to anyone who uses the Take Back the Reins code at the checkout, so you can get some money off them as well. Yeah, that's it for today, guys. I'm sorry this video has been long, but I hope that you found it helpful. Yeah, wherever you are in your journey, just by virtue of the fact that you're watching this video right now, I know that you want to recover. You've probably realized that you've got a problem, and that is the first step in order to getting better. And like I said, it's a journey. You will probably like come to the end of your tether with your bulimia like 50, 60, 70, 80 times, like, right, that's it, I'm done, I'm never doing this again, and then you'll do it again the next day. That's going to happen again and again and again. Like, that's okay, as long as you have that intention of recovering in your mind and you're taking the small steps towards it. It doesn't matter how small they are, as long as you're taking consistent steps towards recovery, you can do it. You're going to get there, you're going to get better. It's not impossible. I say this like every video until I'm blue in the face, but I have my suicide planned out. I did not, someone called me, I did not believe at all that I could ever get better. Like, I didn't think there was a better life for me out there, and here I am 2 years later, living free of bulimia. So it really is possible, and yeah, I'm just sending so much love to all of you and so much strength. Yeah, you can do it. Hold on. Life is not easy, but you don't have to live with bulimia. It can be a lot better than that. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you for watching.